A number of decades ago, I discovered in a Kabbalistic book that was written by a great Talmudic mystic in the beginning of the 20th century. And I saw there a diagram that profoundly affected me. And what it was a diagram based upon a description in the book of the Zohar that was then commented and described by one of the greatest Torah and Kabbalistic masters of the last several hundred years, Rabbi Eliyahu, the Gaon of Vilna, who lived over 200 years ago. And what this description is a aerial view of the Godhead. There's a Godhead and a God body, and although it exists in a higher dimensional realm that we cannot see with our physical three-dimensional eyes, there is a correspondence, as above, so below. From my flesh I will behold God, is a verse in Job. And this aerial view of the cranium, as it were, of God is a two-tailed Ouroboros. An Ouroboros is a term used in mythology and in Jungian psychology that refers to the image of a snake, a serpent, with its tail in its mouth. I have never come across, in all of my studies of world literature and mythology, a two-tailed Ouroboros. Yet this is the exact description that we find in the ancient book of the Zohar that was first revealed in the 13th century. And the description is this: the head of the serpent corresponds to the area of our head known as the occiput. There is a little indentation that anyone can feel with their fingers. This indentation is what the sages refer to as the head of the sacred serpent. There then is a pathway that goes from the occiput straight through the top of the head, concluding at the hairline. At the hairline, then, this pathway, which is known as the straight serpent, also known as the straight Leviathan, then splits into two, and thus we have two tails coming out of the singular body. The two tails then wrap around the two sides of the cranium, returning back the two tails into the mouth of the sacred serpent. The two curved tails are what's known as the curved serpent or the curved Leviathan, and we know that there is a concept, one of the most enigmatic, mysterious concepts in the Jewish tradition that has also come into Western culture, known as Leviathan. Leviathan means something big. It appears to be a mythical creature. In fact, there are two Leviathans, a male and a female, and in fact, they're really one. It is one that splits into the two, and then the two back into the one. This structure, in fact, this pathway, this is a circuit. This is what the sages of the Kabbalah are describing, is that there is a actual circuit. It's a spiritual circuit that is channeling divinity through our brain. And it is this circuitry, this two-tailed Ouroboros, which is the map to enter the city of Luz. For those that are familiar with the Jewish tradition, Orthodox Jews, observant Jews, place on their head a ritual object that's called tefillin. In English, has a strange name called phylacteries. And what it is, it's a leather box that contains parchment with paragraphs from the Bible. And there are two leather straps that extend and return to this very place in the occiput here. And there is a knot in the two leather straps that is then held in place by this indentation in the occiput. This structure of the tefillin, we see, is replicating this very structure of the two-tailed Ouroboros. This is a primordial structure. This symbol of the two-tailed Ouroboros, the two-tailed Leviathan, is, to my understanding, this is more Jewish than a Jewish star. This symbol, this form. In fact, the emblem of the Jewish star, which is so strongly associated with Judaism, really is only several centuries old. Even the menorah, the candelabra, which is a very ancient Jewish symbol, clearly described in the Bible and used in both of the temples. This symbol of the two-tailed Ouroboros appears to be the most archetypal and certainly primordial Jewish symbol, quite unique to my understanding. This is the entrance to the city of Luz, and this is this map, this structure is also superimposed upon the back as well. In other words, the base of the spine becomes the head of the serpent, the spine itself becomes the straight serpent, and then the energy that is generated that circulates back down to the base of the spine, that is the curved serpent energy. So in other words, this is a template that it can be superimposed on the head or on the whole structure. And simply what this is, we see here we have negative and positive polarity. The base of the skull and the base of the spine is the negative polarity. The forehead is the positive polarity, and relative to the base of the spine, then the head or the back of the head becomes the positive polarity. Basically what we have here is a electromagnetic battery. And we see that the sages, it appears that there's a machloket, a dispute as to where is the location of this mysterious bone in the body called the Luz bone. The Luz bone is well known in the Jewish tradition, picked up even in Christian sources. There is a bone in the body that is indestructible, and that an individual will be resurrected from the dead based upon this bone. Now, up until recently, this would sound like total mythology. However, we know from the science of cloning, all we need is the most minute particle, and the entire being can be, in effect, resurrected from that single particle. This is the concept of the Etzem HaLuz, the Luz bone, and it is variously described as being at the top of the vertebrae corresponding to the atlas, or at the base of the spine corresponding to the coccyx or the sacrum. And we know that the city of Luz, it's not by coincidence that the Luz bone has the same name as the city of Luz. Thus, there are two entrances to the city of Luz. There's the lower entrance and the higher entrance. And when one meditates upon the two-tailed Ouroboros, what one does is one uses one's concentration to utilize the energy at the base of the spine and all that's associated with it, the material, the sexual, and this becomes an entrance point. And then one actually travels internally through a tunnel, which is exactly what the sages describe as the secret entrance that was camouflaged by the foliage of a Luz tree, hollowed out, which then entered into a cave, which entered into a tunnel, which went into the city of Luz, the city, an eternal city of light. And this cave is also, the entrance is at the base of the head as well. And what one does is one, using specific mental techniques and visualization, together with a source of stimulation, specifically through controlled hyperventilation, one then replicates, follows these pathways that, according to the tradition, are embedded in our physiology, and they are the interface between our physical beings and our spiritual beings. We should also emphasize that the name Metatron Sarhapanim, the Prince of the Face, another explanation of that term is the Prince of the Interface, as well as inner face. The word panim means face as well as inner. And we have face on the outside, inner on the inside, and we have interface, that which is interfacing. That is part of the role of this whole phenomenon, the structure called Metatron. Metatron is the interface between the human and the divine. Where do we engage God? We engage God in one of the last places we would think, certainly from the Western tradition. It is through our nervous system, our cerebral spinal neural network. In there is where lies hidden the nervous system of the divine, as it were, and that is referred to as Metatron. Metatron is the divine spine, the nervous system of God. It's the body of God. We refer to the Ein Sof as it were the consciousness of the divine, whereas the body of God is Metatron. And that's why it says his name is the same name as his master. Are you separate? Are we separate from our bodies? Can we separate our consciousness from our bodies? They're two separate things, but for all practical purposes, our bodies, which include all of our sensory apparatus, everything that we're hearing, seeing, as well as thinking, that is what is referred to as Metatron relative to the unknowable essence of the Ein Sof. Just like our ultimate consciousness, its essence of its essence is not knowable. It goes and it goes and it goes. Likewise with the Ein Sof, which means there is no end. It has no limit to it. This then is what Metatron is all about. This is the Sarhapanim, the prince of the face, prince of the internal structure as well as the interface.